What does it feel like to be erased by your own family? I stood at my brother's graduation party, uninvited, my heart racing as I faced my parents' stunned gazes, ready to unveil a secret they'd never expect. They called me a failure, kicked me out for dropping out of college, and left me to drown in debt. But I clawed my way back, and what I brought to that party would turn their world upside down. My whole life, I lived in my brother Brandon's shadow, never good enough for my parents' love. When they abandoned me, I found strength they couldn't imagine. How did I make them beg me to stay? Stay with me because this tale of betrayal and sweet revenge is just beginning. Hit the subscribe button below. The air was thick with laughter and clinking glasses, the kind of celebration that screamed success. My brother Brandon's graduation party was in full swing, a dazzling affair in a rented ballroom, with my parents at the heart of it, glowing with pride. They toasted their perfect son, the straight-A student, the athlete, the one who'd never let them down. I wasn't supposed to be there. They hadn't sent me an invitation, hadn't even spared me a thought. To them, I was Emily, the daughter who'd failed, dropped out of college, buried in loans, and tossed out of their lives like a mistake they couldn't bear to acknowledge. But there I was, standing just beyond the crowd, my pulse hammering, knowing the moment I stepped forward would change everything. Growing up, I was always chasing their approval. Brandon's achievements were the yardstick, his trophies a constant reminder of my shortcomings. Be more like your brother, they'd say, their words cutting deep. I tried. I enrolled in college, studied finance to win their pride, but the weight of it all, endless bills, sleepless nights, failing grades, broke me. I couldn't keep up. When I dropped out, I hoped they'd understand, maybe offer a shred of support. Instead, they turned cold. You chose this path, my mom said, her voice like ice. You're on your own now. My dad just stared, his disappointment heavier than any words. They kicked me out, and I landed in a cramped apartment, scraping by with odd jobs, my dreams buried under a mountain of debt. They never called, never checked in. I was gone from their world, while they planned this grand celebration for Brandon, as if I'd never existed. But they didn't know the fire they'd lit inside me. While they fawned over their golden child, I was rebuilding, turning my pain into something they'd never see coming. That night, as I hovered at the edge of their perfect party, I wasn't the broken girl they'd discarded. I was ready to show them what I'd become. What could I possibly have done to make them regret shutting me out? Keep watching to find out. If this story's pulling you in, smash that subscribe button and share your own stories of overcoming betrayal in the comments. The dorm room smelled of stale coffee and desperation. It was late 2022, and I was hunched over a rickety desk in my tiny corner of the world, surrounded by crumpled bills and textbooks I couldn't afford. My name's Emily, and back then, I was a 20-year-old college student fighting a losing battle. I'm the kind of person who keeps trying, even when the odds are stacked against me. I care too much, always have, and I hold on to hope longer than I should. But that night, with my laptop screen glowing and my hands shaking as I tallied up my student loans, I felt hope slipping away. Growing up, my family's suburban house was like a shrine to my older brother, Brandon. His soccer trophies gleamed on the shelves, each one a silent jab at my own empty space. Brandon was the golden child, straight-A student, star athlete, the son who could do no wrong. My parents worshipped him. Me? I was the afterthought, the daughter who couldn't quite measure up. Why can't you be more like your brother? My mom snapped at a family dinner years ago, her fork clinking against her plate. Brandon never struggles like this. I forced a smile, my throat tight, but inside I was screaming, I'm trying. Doesn't that count? That moment stung, didn't it? It's the kind of thing that sticks with you, the weight of never being enough. I wanted to make them proud. I enrolled in college, picked finance because it sounded practical, something they'd approve of. But college wasn't the dream they sold me. The pressure was relentless. Classes were brutal, and the loans kept piling up, $30,000 and counting. I worked part-time at a diner, the kind with sticky floors and flickering lights, but my paychecks barely covered rent. Nights blurred into mornings, my eyes burning from staring at spreadsheets, my stomach knotted from stress. I kept thinking, if I just get this degree, it'll all be worth it. I'll pay it back. They'll see I'm not a failure, but I couldn't keep up. One night, after another failed exam and a collection notice in my mailbox, I broke. I sat on my lumpy dorm mattress, tears streaming down my face, and made the hardest choice of my life. I dropped out. I thought maybe, just maybe, I could find my own way, catch my breath. But telling my parents was like walking into a storm. I stood in their pristine kitchen, the air heavy with the scent of my mom's lavender candles, my hands twisted together as I forced the words out. I dropped out of college. I can't do it anymore. My mom's face hardened, her eyes narrowing. You made your choice, Emily, she said, her voice cold enough to freeze my bones. You're an adult now. Figure it out on your own. My dad didn't say a word. He just stared, his disappointment a physical weight, then turned his back and walked away. I stood there, my heart shattering, waiting for one of them to soften, to say something, anything. They didn't. They kicked me out that night. Can you feel that betrayal? Your own parents, the people supposed to lift you up, turning their backs when you're at your lowest. I packed a single duffel bag and left, the front door clicking shut behind me like a final goodbye. I moved into a rundown apartment, the kind with creaky floors and a faucet that never stopped dripping. Odd jobs, waitressing, tutoring, cleaning houses, kept me afloat, but barely. My parents never called, never asked if I was okay. It was like I'd vanished from their world. Meanwhile, Brandon was soaring, their perfect son, on track to graduate with honors. I was alone, but something was stirring inside me. They thought I was done, a lost cause. They had no idea what I was capable of. So how do you keep going when the people you love most shut you out? Have you ever felt like you were living in someone else's shadow, chasing expectations you could never meet? Share your story in the comments. We'd love to hear it. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and join us for more emotional Reddit revenge stories. Trust me, you won't believe what happens next. My new apartment was a far cry from the polished suburban house I'd grown up in. The walls had peeling wallpaper, the faucet dripped endlessly, and my bed was a single mattress on a creaky floor. It was early 2023, and I was 20, alone, trying to piece my life back together after my parents kicked me out for dropping out of college. The inciting moment came one chilly morning when I checked my phone, hoping for a message from them. A single word even. Nothing. Just silence. That was when it hit me. They'd erased me from their lives. My chest tightened, a dull ache spreading through me, but I shoved the pain down and got ready for another grueling day. That silence hurts, doesn't it, when the people who should care most act like you don't exist? I was juggling 3 jobs to survive. Waitressing at a greasy diner left my apron stained with coffee and my feet throbbing. Tutoring high school kids meant late nights prepping lessons, my eyes stinging from exhaustion. Cleaning houses was the worst. My hands turned raw from scrubbing floors, the chemical smell clinging to my clothes. My student loans loomed over me, $30,000 and counting, with collection notices stuffing my mailbox. I barely slept, my body heavy with fatigue, but I kept going. I had to. No one else was going to save me. The first real blow came one evening when I was scrolling through social media, too tired to think straight. A post from my mom popped up, a photo of Brandon in his cap and gown, grinning with the caption, "Our pride and joy, ready to graduate." My stomach twisted, a sharp pang cutting through me. They were planning a huge party for him, a celebration for their perfect son. I wasn't mentioned, not even a hint that I existed. My fingers hovered over the screen, my throat burning with unshed tears. I wanted to comment, to scream, "What about me?" But I didn't. I just sat there, my breath shallow, feeling like I'd been slapped. Can you feel that sting? Being erased while they celebrate someone else. The second humiliation was worse. A week later, my phone buzzed with a voicemail from my mom. I hesitated, my heart pounding, hoping for an apology. Instead, her voice was smug, almost pitying. "Emily, we're so proud of Brandon. His graduation is going to be huge. You're welcome to call if you get your act together." I froze, my hands trembling as I replayed it. Get my act together? They'd kicked me out, left me to drown in debt, and now they were dangling their approval like I was some stray begging for scraps. I deleted the message, my jaw clenched so tight it hurt. Inside, I was raging. They think I'm nothing. They're wrong. I confided in Mia, a coworker at the diner who'd become my only friend. She was wiping down tables, her ponytail bouncing as she listened to me vent. "Your family sounds brutal," she said, tossing her rag aside. "But you're tougher. You don't need their approval." I leaned against the counter, my shoulders sagging. "Maybe you're right," I said softly. "I'm tired of feeling like I'm nothing." Mia's words were a lifeline, her blunt honesty cutting through my fog of self-doubt. She saw me, really saw me, when my own family wouldn't. But the lowest point came late one night, alone in my apartment. I'd just gotten another loan notice, the red ink screaming past due. I sank onto my mattress, my knees pulled to my chest, my breaths coming in short, ragged gasps. The room felt too small, the walls closing in. I was exhausted, broke, and utterly alone. My parents didn't care if I was alive or dead. Brandon was their world, and I was just a mistake they'd swept away. Tears streamed down my face, my body shaking as I whispered to myself, why wasn't I enough? It was the darkest moment, the one where I almost gave up. That's rock bottom, isn't it? When you feel like you're screaming into a void. But as I sat there, something shifted. I wiped my tears, my hands still trembling, and stared at the cracked ceiling. I thought about my parents' smug voicemail, their glowing posts about Brandon, their complete dismissal of me. A spark of defiance flared in my chest, hot and fierce. I was done being their failure. "They think I'm a lost cause," I said aloud, my voice steadying. "But I'm going to show them I'm more than they ever gave me credit for." That moment wasn't just anger. It was resolve. I didn't know how yet, but I was going to rise, and they'd regret shutting me out. Reflecting now, I realized that pain was my fuel. Being excluded, erased, it hurt, but it also woke me up. I wasn't just fighting for survival anymore. I was fighting to prove I was worth something, not to them, but to myself. Have you ever been shut out by people you thought cared about you? How did you push through? Share your stories in the comments. We're all ears. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more gripping tales like this one. Trust me, Emily's about to turn the tables. The coffee shop was my refuge, a dimly lit haven where I could escape the drip of my apartment's leaky faucet. It was mid-2023, and I was 20, hunched over my battered laptop, the screen's glow casting shadows on my tired face. I'd been scraping by, juggling low-paying jobs, my hands still raw from cleaning houses. But one night, everything changed. I was helping a diner regular, a small business owner named Carla, balance her books. She was drowning in receipts, her food truck barely breaking even. I spotted mistakes in her expenses, things I'd learned in my college finance classes. "You're overpaying on supplies," I told her, my voice steady. "Switch vendors, and you'll save hundreds." Carla's eyes lit up. "You're a lifesaver, Emily. Can you keep helping me?" That was the moment I realized I had skills, real skills, and they could change my life. That spark of discovery, isn't it electric? When you realize you're capable of more than anyone thought. I'd been a victim, crushed by my parents' rejection, convinced I was nothing without their approval. But Carla's trust flipped a switch. I wasn't just a dropout. I could build something. I started freelancing as a financial consultant, using every scrap of knowledge from my college days. Late nights at the coffee shop became my routine, my fingers flying over my laptop as I built a simple website, Emily's Financial Fixes. I scoured online forums, watched free webinars, and read library books on small business accounting. My research wasn't glamorous. Coffee stains marked my notebooks. but it was mine. I pitched to local shops, my voice shaky at first. I don't have a degree, I'd say, but I've studied finance for years. Let me save you money. One bakery owner, a gruff man named Tom, took a chance. You're young, but you've got grit, he said. Let's do this. Landing Tom was my first real win. His check, $500, was small, but felt like a fortune. I paid down $1,000 of my student loans that week, my heart swelling as I mailed the payment. My bank account wasn't empty anymore. I was gaining. That first taste of success, it's like oxygen after holding your breath. My parents, meanwhile, were clueless. They were deep in plans for Brandon's graduation, renting a fancy venue with chandeliers and catered spreads, inviting every local bigwig they knew. I saw their posts online, Brandon in his cap and gown, their captions gushing, "Our star, ready to shine." My stomach churned, but not with the old pain. It was fuel. I started planning my revenge, not out of spite, but to show them I wasn't their failure. I'd crash Brandon's graduation party, uninvited, and reveal my success. I'd announce a scholarship fund for struggling students, funded by my growing earnings, to steal their spotlight and prove my worth. I hesitated, though. Was this too harsh? My parents were cold, but they were still family. I almost called them one night, my thumb hovering over Mom's number, my chest tight with doubt. What if they laughed? What if they didn't care? But then I remembered their voicemail. Get your act together. They'd left me to drown. They didn't deserve my mercy. I chose self-reliance. I don't need their approval, I told myself, my voice firm in the empty coffee shop. I'm building something for me. That was the point of no return. I leaned into my plan with focus. I'd walk into that party, dressed sharp, head high. I'd take the mic during their toasts and say, "I'm Emily, the daughter you forgot. I built a business from nothing, paid off my debt, and I'm launching a scholarship for kids like me." The crowd would see their cruelty, their faces burning with shame. My scholarship, starting at $5,000, would grow with every client I landed. It was my way of turning pain into purpose. That fire in her heart, it's unstoppable now. She's not just surviving, she's thriving. Every new client, every paid invoice, built my confidence. I imagined my parents' stunned silence. Brandon's perfect day overshadowed. This was justice. I was ready to show them what I'd become, and they'd beg me to stay. What's a moment when you proved you could do something others doubted? Share your stories in the comments. Your victories inspire us. If you're loving Emily's journey, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. The revenge is coming, and you won't want to miss it. The ballroom glittered like a jewel, chandeliers casting golden light over tables draped in silk. It was June 2023, and my brother Brandon's graduation party was a spectacle. String quartet humming, guests in tuxedos and gowns sipping champagne. I stood just outside the entrance, my heart hammering, my palms sweaty against the smooth fabric of my tailored navy dress. I was 21 now, no longer the broken girl my parents had kicked out. I was Emily, the entrepreneur who'd built a financial consulting business from nothing. My plan was simple. Crash the party, take the mic, and show them who I'd become. I adjusted my posture, lifted my chin, and stepped inside. Step 1 was blending in. I moved through the crowd, my heels clicking on polished wood, nodding politely at strangers. No one questioned me. I looked like I belonged. Step 2 was timing. I waited until my parents took the stage for their toast, their voices dripping with pride for Brandon, their perfect son. My mom's diamond earrings sparkled as she gushed, "Our boy's a star!" My dad beamed, his arm around her. That was my cue. I slipped toward the stage, my pulse racing, and grabbed the microphone from a startled caterer. An unexpected complication hit. The mic squealed, a piercing shriek that turned every head. My stomach dropped. Whispers rippled through the crowd, and my mom's eyes locked onto me, narrowing with recognition. "Emily!" she hissed, her voice barely audible over the feedback. I froze, my throat tight, but I wasn't backing down. I tapped the mic, the noise fading, and forced a smile. Technical difficulties, I said lightly, earning a few chuckles. The moment passed, and I had control. That was close, wasn't it? But Emily's not here to falter. I wasn't invited tonight, I began, my voice steady, projecting across the room. But I have something to say. My name is Emily, and I'm Brandon's sister, the one they forgot. Gasps murmured through the crowd. My parents' faces shifted. My mom's mouth tightened, my dad's eyes widened, a flush creeping up his neck. They realized what was happening. I pressed on. 2 years ago, I dropped out of college, drowning in debt. My parents didn't help. They kicked me out, told me to figure it out alone. My mom stepped forward, her hand outstretched. "Emily, this isn't the time," she started, her voice sharp but shaky. I cut her off, my tone firm. "No, Mom. You had your time to talk when you kicked me out. Now it's mine." The room went silent, every eye on me. My dad's jaw clenched, his hands balling into fists, but he didn't move. Their shame was visible, their perfect facade crumbling. I turned to the crowd. I built a company from nothing. I paid off my debt. And tonight, I'm launching a scholarship, $50,000 to start, for students like me, ones who don't have a family to catch them when they fall. The words landed like a thunderclap. Feel that justice? Emily's turning their pride into dust. The crowd erupted in applause, hands clapping, voices murmuring in awe. An older woman in a pearl necklace nodded at me, her eyes warm. A man in a suit whispered to his wife, "She's incredible." Brandon, standing near the stage, met my gaze. For the first time, he didn't look smug. He gave a subtle nod, a flicker of respect in his eyes. My parents stood frozen, my mom's face pale, her hands trembling as she gripped her glass. My dad stared at the floor, his shoulders slumped, the weight of their cruelty exposed. I felt a rush of satisfaction, warm and fierce, spreading through my chest. I'd done it. They couldn't erase me anymore. The climactic moment came as the applause peaked. I raised the mic one last time. This scholarship is my promise to help others rise, no matter who doubts them. The crowd cheered louder, their approval a validation of everything I'd fought for. My parents' spotlight was gone, stolen by the daughter they'd discarded. I stepped off the stage, my head high, my heart pounding with triumph. In the immediate aftermath, guests swarmed me, offering handshakes, business cards, even donations for the scholarship. "You're an inspiration," a woman said, her voice earnest. My parents stayed back, their faces a mix of shock and humiliation, unable to meet my eyes. I didn't need their apologies. I'd taken back my power. Have you ever had a moment where you proved your doubters wrong in a big way? Share your epic comeback stories in the comments. The ballroom's glow had faded, but the weight of what I'd done lingered. Late 2023, standing in my new office, a small space with bare walls, a second-hand desk, and a framed photo of my first client, Carla, smiling beside her food truck. I'd just humiliated my parents at Brandon's graduation party, revealing my success as an entrepreneur and launching a $50,000 scholarship fund for struggling students. The consequences rippled out. My scholarship gained traction, its website buzzing with stories from recipients, kids like me, fighting to rise without a safety net. Local businesses donated, and my client list grew, my financial consulting business now a steady lifeline. I'd paid off $15,000 of my student loans, each payment a quiet victory. That's real impact, isn't it? Turning pain into something that lifts others up. I'd changed. The Emily who begged for her parents' approval was gone. I stood taller now, my voice steady when I pitched to clients, my heart no longer tethered to their judgment. I was self-assured, independent, and proud of the life I'd built. But my parents hadn't let go. A week after the party, they showed up at my office unannounced, their faces drawn, their usual polish dulled. My dad cleared his throat, his eyes avoiding mine. "Emily, we were wrong," he said, his voice low. "Please, come back to the family." My mom nodded, her hands twisting her purse strap. "We're sorry, honey. Let's fix this." I leaned back in my chair, my pulse calm. Their words didn't soften me. I saw them for what they were, people who'd only valued me when I shone brighter than their golden child. I forgive you, I said, my tone even. But I don't need you anymore. I've built my own family, one that believes in me. My mom's eyes welled up, my dad's shoulders slumped, but I felt no guilt. I'd reclaimed my power. They left, their footsteps echoing in the hallway, a permanent separation sealed by my choice. Brandon was different. He texted me later, a simple message. I didn't know, Em. I'm proud of you. I didn't reply. Not yet. Maybe one day we'd talk, but I wasn't chasing his approval either. My focus was only on me. That boundary, it's freedom, right? Choosing who gets to stay in your life. Reflecting now, I see how far I've come. I used to think my parents' love was the only thing that mattered. I'd blamed myself for failing their standards, carrying that shame like a stone. But I forgave myself for those failures. They weren't mine, they were theirs. I learned my worth doesn't come from them or anyone. It comes from the fight I waged, the business I built, the students I'm helping. One night, I sat at my desk, reading thank you letters from scholarship recipients. A girl named Lily wrote, "You gave me hope when I had none." My eyes stung, my chest warm with quiet joy. That was my closure, my proof I was enough. I walked through a park the next day, the autumn leaves crunching under my boots, a smile tugging at my lips. The shadow of my family's expectations was gone. I was free, thriving, and at peace. The final insight hit me as I watched kids play in the distance. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't making others suffer. It's building a life so full, they can't touch it. And that's how I turned betrayal into triumph. I'm Emily, the girl my parents wrote off, now thriving with a business and a scholarship fund that's changing lives. I walked away from their shadow, built my own light, and found peace in knowing I'm enough. My parents' apologies couldn't undo their cruelty, but I don't need them to. I've got my own path now, and it's brighter than they ever imagined. What's the most relatable part of my story? Drop it in the comments, and let's keep the conversation going. Crafting these stories takes heart and hustle, so if you love this tale of betrayal and triumph, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this video with your friends. Only the real ones get the thrill of justice served. Join us. We'll see you in the next one. Stay tuned.